The beautiful village stirred to life as the dawn ushered in the morning. Ngozi stepped out of her hut with baby Nneka. What a beautiful morning it was for a new beginning. Ngozi never thought being a mother would feel so great. But a woman in the compound paused to stare at her in confusion. A man stopped too, recoiling in disbelief. Ngozi noticed the prying eyes of her relatives. Then it hit her. In all the euphoria of triumphing over the spirit warriors of Igodo to get her heart desire, she had forgotten that to have a baby, you don't just wake up with one in your arms. What would she tell these people, who had now gathered in numbers? Her husband, Okonkwo, stared at her in disbelief. "Where did this witch steal a baby?" Ego's loud voice rang above the murmurings. Ngozi cringed in fear. No one would believe her bizarre story. And if they did, they would cast her and her daughter out of the village. "What is going on, Obim?" Okonkwo asked in confusion. "Whose baby is that?" Ngozi opened her mouth to speak, but words failed her. Your wife gave birth in the night," someone yelled. Everyone turned to see the old woman with long gray hair. Ngozi was relieved to see her. "What did you say?" Okonkwo asked. "Your wife," said the old woman calmly, "gave birth in the night." "Huh?" Everyone exclaimed in shock and confusion. "But we did not see Ngozi with any pregnancy. How come?" a woman asked. "It's a lie! A very fat lie!" Ego yelled. "That witch can never give birth!" The old woman turned, casting Ego a stare that sent chills down her spine and put a lock on her mouth. "Who are you?" Okonkwo asked this strange woman. "Just an old woman who doesn't mind her own business," said the old woman, smiling. "I found your wife in labor at the crossroads of Ibafa. She was lucky I found her when I did." "Ibafa?" Okonkwo asked Ngozi. Yes, Obim." Ngozi finally found her voice. I ran away last night when I could no longer take Ego's mockery," Ngozi recounted. But you didn't look pregnant." Okonkwo still confused by all these. "You ask a lot of questions," chided the old woman, "for a man whose beloved wife just put to bed." Reminded of his love for his wife, all doubts vanished from Okonkwo's head. He collected the baby from Ngozi. His heart welled up with emotions. "She has green eyes like my grandmother." Okonkwo smiled. "Her name will be Nneka," Ngozi cut in. "Yes." Okonkwo gasps. "How did you know?" "Our heart is one, Obim." And they both chuckled like two lovebirds. Ego was flushed with indignation. This woman kept stealing all the affections of her husband. Now that Ngozi had a baby, Okonkwo won't even look at her. While Okonkwo made elaborate plans to celebrate the birth of his child, Ego's mind was racing. How was this possible? How could that male witch Ngozi be pregnant with a flat belly and give birth all in one night? It made no sense. Everyone had lost their senses. She would get to the bottom of this herself. The crossroads of Ibafa, where two paths meet to confuse the witless. Ego stood by the edge of the road and scanned everywhere. If Ngozi gave birth here, then someone was bound to have heard or seen her. Thankfully, there was a small inhabited hut by the side of the road. Ego met an older woman sitting outside the hut. After exchanging pleasantries, Ego began her inquisition. "Don't be angry, madam," Ego began. "But did anything strange happen here last night?" The woman looked at her in confusion. "No, nothing out of the ordinary," the woman responded. Ego's ears tingled. "But surely something would have happened when you were asleep," Ego asked. "I don't sleep deep. The slightest sound wakes me up," said the woman. "Yes!" Ego thought out loud to herself. "I knew that witch was lying. She'll be shamed today." "However," the woman cut in, "something wonderful and natural happened here last night," she said with a smile. Ego frowned in confusion. "A beautiful woman gave birth here last night," the woman said with delight. "What?" Ego spat. "But you said nothing happened here last night." "Something strange," the woman corrected. "You asked if something strange had happened." Ego glared at the woman, boiling with anger. If she were a child, she would have gotten the beating of her life there and then. "Although it was a little strange," the woman added. "She had been pregnant and didn't know. Poor thing." Ego was devastated. So it was true after all. That witch had won her. So?" The woman cut in again. "Who are you and why are you asking all these questions?" Ego gave her one angry stare, and with a long hiss, she stormed off. The woman broke into a gleeful laughter. and then transformed into the old woman with long gray hair. "Silly woman," she said. "Now, let the story begin," the old woman said with a wry smile. And so, we begin the story of Nneka, the Pumpkin Girl, and her estranged sister Nonye, innocent daughters of the same father who inherited their mother's war. As the dawn light broke, a young woman watched the golden sun rise over the village. She smiled, basking in the view. The spirit warrior was right. Nneka had grown into a very beautiful maiden whose beauty rivaled the splendor of the dawn. Her brown skin glowed like polished mahogany. Her beautiful green eyes, pools of liquid emerald, reflecting the depths of her compassionate soul. Besides beauty, it was Nneka's kind heart that endeared people to her. She tended to the sick and weary, offering healing with her unusual knowledge of herbs. Ngozi had kept her promise. She'd raised Nneka with abundant love. Everyone in the village loved Nneka. Everyone except Ego and Nonye. "The herb princess and her admirers," Nonye scoffs. "One would think she's the daughter of a dibia." Ego smiled proudly. Nonye had her fighting spirit. "She's no match for you. You surpass her in everything, my child." "But mother, everyone likes her more than me," complained Nonye. "Not everyone, only the servants," Ego said with disdain. "You are a princess, that's why prominent people love you." Nonye's eyes lit up with excitement. "I can't wait for the prince to return," she said. Ego smiled. "And I can't wait for you to be his wife and the future queen of this kingdom," Ego assured her. "Oh, mother, will that really happen?" Nonye asked in desperation. "Of course," Ego said with confidence. "The queen has given me her word." "Oh my God, I can't wait! I can't wait!" Nonye exclaimed. "I will be the queen's mother." Ego smiled deviously. "And Ngozi will be beneath me." The next day was the beginning of the harvest week. Everyone was busy in the farm until the Oja was heard playing a happy royal tune. The prince, the long-awaited heir to the throne, had returned home after spending years with his mother's brother. Many had gathered to receive the prince with singing and dancing. Nonye was there, beaming ear to ear. Her prince had finally returned. Nneka was somewhere else in the crowd. The prince was indeed handsome, but she would be in serious trouble with Nonye and her mother if she desired him. But then, Prince Kamsi saw her. Their eyes met. He froze at her beauty. Nneka couldn't help but blush under his gaze. There was something about him that stirred her heart in ways she couldn't explain. Nonye froze in horror seeing what had transpired. "My son is back," said the queen as she embraced Kamsi. "Welcome home, son," said the king. Then Kamsi searched the crowd, but Nneka was gone. Chuka, the childhood friend of the prince, watched with mixed emotions. He had noticed what transpired between the prince and Nneka. The prince's return would now make things worse for him. Even with his palm oil trading father's wealth, he was still having a hard time competing with eligible bachelors for Nneka's hand in marriage. He needed to act fast. Nneka had been too stubborn, playing hard to get, whereas any maiden in the village would die to have him. Chuka arrived at Okonkwo's farm. They had told him Nneka was here. Why would she be in the farm when she had tons of servants to do the work? Chuka wondered. He found Nneka serving water to the weary servants. As Chuka approached her, a servant girl mistakenly spilled a basket of grain on him. Chuka flared up. He spared no word insulting the girl and telling her how beneath him she was. Nneka was upset at Chuka for the way he treated the servant girl. "Why would you take sides with a slave girl over a noble like me?" Chuka demanded. "Arg!" Nneka exhaled in frustration. "Chuka, you are so arrogant and full of yourself. You have no ounce of kindness in your soul." "How dare you address me like that?" Chuka spat condescendingly. "Is it because I'm seeking your hand in marriage? Do you know who I am?" Chuka, let me make it clear to you here and now. Nneka declared, I would never ever marry a man like you, whose privileged upbringing had only served to make him arrogant and entitled. Chuka was furious. He stormed off. Not only had Nneka rejected and humiliated him, but she did so in the presence of those peasants. He vowed in his heart he would make Nneka pay for this. As the celebrations wound down and the sun prepared to retire, Prince Kamsi walked down the lonely bush path. He had snuck out of the palace disguised. He couldn't get the green-eyed girl off his mind. He had to find her. As he strolled along the path, Kamsi's attention was suddenly drawn to a peculiar noise emanating from the bush. Intrigued, he approached cautiously. To his surprise, he discovered a strange antelope caught in a tree root, its eyes pleading for mercy. Please help me, the antelope pleaded, its voice surprisingly human. Kamsi was bewildered by the talking antelope, yet felt sorry for it and decided to help. However, as he freed the antelope, the root wrapped around his arms in a cruel twist of fate. And, in an instant, the antelope turns into a man, a dibia. Kamsi was shocked. You tricked me, Kamsi cried out. No, I assure you, the dibia pleaded with Kamsi. This is no trick of mine, but fear not. When you're in trouble, I promise to save you with my life. Kamsi looked at him in total shock. Hello? Said Kamsi in frustration. I'm in trouble right now. Get me out of this trap. Your help is on the way, the dibia assured Kamsi. What? Kamsi asked in confusion. I must go now. You will thank me later, I promise, the dibia said hurriedly. No, wait! But the dibia disappeared into thin air. Kamsi couldn't believe his eyes. Is this how these villagers are? He asked in despair. It so happened that Nneka had come to the bush to get herbs to heal a sick friend. She heard someone calling for help inside the bush. She rushed in to help but saw a man bent over with his body trapped in tree roots. She was alarmed. The witcher's trap! Nneka exclaimed. Please help me, begged Kamsi, still bent over. This is no ordinary trap, it is black magic. Nneka explained. What? Exclaimed Kamsi. That treacherous dibia bewitched me. Wait for me, I'm coming, Nneka said. No, don't go, please, Kamsi begged. But Nneka had already rushed off. They keep running off, said Kamsi in disappointment. After a short while, Nneka returned, carrying a herb in her hand. She muttered some words and squeezed the juice over the trap. Immediately, it set Kamsi free. And for the first time, he saw Nneka, the girl with the green eyes. Nneka gasped to see Prince Kamsi. The first time I saw you, you stole my heart. The next time I see you, you saved my life. What are the odds? The prince said. Nneka blushed again under his gaze. This man could really stir her heart in ways she couldn't explain. You'll put me in trouble, Nneka said coyly. Why? Kamsi asked, smiling. My sister, Nneka said. She's been picked to marry you. Kamsi smiled. Damsels are picked, but the prince has made his choice, said Kamsi. Nneka smiled, and in that moment, amidst the hushed whispers of the forest, a bond was formed between them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the village, a darkness festered within Ego's heart as Nonye recounted events to her. Mother, the prince didn't even look at me, Nonye lamented. Not even when the queen introduced us. I'm sure Nneka bewitched him with that look, Nonye continued. You have to do something, Mother, Nonye cried. I can't lose the prince, I would kill myself. Nonye wept as Ego put her arms around her. Be at peace, my daughter, Ego said. You will not lose the prince. You think so, Mama? Nonye asked desperately. Ego held her close reassuringly. I know so, my daughter, Ego said, comforting her daughter. But in her heart, she knew Nneka was a threat to her daughter's happiness. That night, when everyone was asleep, Ego snuck out of the compound. She walked alone on the bush path, her heart heavy with malice and determination. Unable to bear the thought of Nneka standing in the way of her daughter's happiness, Ego had resolved to seek the help of a powerful Dibia who resided deep within the heart of the forest. But little did she know, she was stirring the hornet's nest.